Hey, what's going on, everybody? I wanted to jump in real quick and talk to you guys about some stuff that I saw in media. Today actually happens to be my birthday, but as you know, if I see something going on, I see some nonsense, some bullshit, I've got to address it. It doesn't matter what day it is. And today just happens to be the peak of bullshit. It has to do with what's going on with this situation with these children, these immigrant children who, unfortunately for them and their families, they've been separated. It's about 2,000 kids, from what I understand, who've been separated from their parents, and this has become the great national tragedy. This has become, for some people, bigger than 9/11, bigger than almost anything that's ever happened to anybody in the history of this country, including slavery. There are people that are on TV crying. I saw Rachel Maddow talking about the immigrant children being put in cages, and she was broken down and just whining and crying and tears, boo-hooing and everything else. And I just have to try to put it into context. What's going on, Jermaine and Curtis? I see my homeboy Malik Shabazz is in here. God bless you, brother. You are a great black man, and I respect you a whole lot. If I say something that offends you or something that you disagree with, let's just not be disagreeable. Let's just take it as a difference in opinion. But I'm going to lay my opinion out here because ain't nobody really talking for black folks on this issue. Ain't nobody really talking about our children and what we're going through and everything else. Now, let me kind of lay it out here. Basically what's been going on, in case you don't know this whole standoff at the border. Apparently the Trump administration, they have a view on immigration that's not consistent with the previous policies. The previous policies were basically that, when it comes to illegal immigration, they just kind of overlooked it. It wasn't a big deal. I guess it was treated like jaywalking or something, where it was like, yeah, you broke the law, but you can get away with it. And the reason that I personally was a little bit concerned about it is because I've never been fully convinced that black people are benefiting from this massive wave of illegal immigration. If you recall, when Dr. Claude Anderson was in here speaking not too long ago, one of the things that he made abundantly clear is that immigration policy, that this sort of allowance of a flood of immigrants from other countries, particularly south of the border, has been used to dilute the power of the black vote. That basically the more they bring other people in, the less they need black people for jobs, the less they need black people for political power, the less they need black people for anything. So Dr. Anderson made a very good point that around the turn of the 20th century, the black population was a much, much larger percentage of the American population than it is right now. Around the turn of the century, I can't remember what percentage black people were, but it was a very high percentage, maybe 30, 40% of the country. And because they had these sort of wide open immigration policies, every year we dwindle a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And what's fascinating is that there's always been an argument that when we let other people come into the United States, we pretty much put those people ahead of the line. We put those people ahead of black folks. And and the reason I felt it's important to kind of talk about this issue, and I really hope that you'll hit the share button, you'll hit the subscribe button, you'll share this conversation. I really hope you'll do this. And the reason I'm bringing this conversation up is because this situation is a great example of white supremacy. The way white folks are reacting, the way black people are reacting, makes this situation, of people being so upset, making it into a national tragedy that these two kids are being left, separated from their parents at the border. This is a perfect textbook example of white supremacy. And let me tell you why it's an example of white supremacy. There are people on TV, commentators, national commentators, politicians, who are literally breaking down in tears because they heard these stories about these children whose parents, broke the law, who are separated from their families, and they're crying about it. They've made it into a national crisis. They're passing legislation to immediately fix the situation. They feel that this is an embarrassment for the country. They feel that this is something that has to be rectified immediately. Now, simultaneously, you have probably about 1,000 times more black children, African American children, who are separated from their families right now. 1,000 times more black people out here who are going through the exact same thing. You know, 1,000 times more black children right now who are suffering, being raped, being beaten, being crying their eyes out every night, crying themselves to sleep because they can't be with their parents. And what white folks say when it comes to black folks is, well, if you didn't want to be separated from your child, then your parents shouldn't have broke the law. If you didn't want to have a separated family, then y'all should have followed the law. But when it comes to immigrant families, who immigrants get pushed ahead of black folks, the response is, well, they only broke the law because they needed to, or we're going to make an exception for them, or it's okay and it's a tragedy to separate them from their families. Let me say this. If those people were black, none of this would be going on. If those people were black, even if they were black immigrants, if they had come from Haiti, and the same thing was happening, exact same situation, Rachel Maddow would not be on TV in tears because she's a racist. These white politicians out here talking smack about the situation and ready to make a proposal, they wouldn't be doing nothing. Al Sharpton will be at home combing his little gray perm. He would not be holding press conferences on behalf of the immigrant children because nobody puts black children at the front of the curve, or at the front of the line. Black children are always at the back of the line. In fact, let me show you an example. I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna try to, I don't want to share my screen. I'll share my screen for 1 second so you can see this. This is an example of a website somebody put up where they literally created a little fundraiser. It wasn't like, you know, the National Red Cross or some, you know, the Ford Foundation or some major organization. This was a lady named Charlotte and a guy named Dave, who apparently they're married, Charlotte and Dave. And they created a Facebook page called Reunite an Immigrant Parent with Their Child. That's what they called it, Reunite an Immigrant Parent with Their Child. And they got a picture of a crying baby on here. And as a result of setting this fundraiser up, they have raised $13,092,375. $13,092,375. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this very serious question. Even the bigots in the room, the racists, y'all know who you are up here crying for these babies, but ain't got no tears for black kids. What if Charlotte and Dave had created a page where it was for black children, where they said reunite black incarcerated children or black incarcerated parents with their kids? How much money do you think that they would have raised at that point? How much money do you think they would have raised? You think they would have raised $13 million for black children? If you think so, then you're stupid. You're out of your mind. It's hard to raise $20 on behalf of black folks. It's hard to come up with $50 in a fundraiser for black people. When they hold fundraisers for black folks, most of the time no money gets collected. When a shooting happens, you'll see where the victim and their family might raise a couple $1,000s, a few $1,000s, but the cop who shot and murdered the black person will have $1 million in their account by the weekend. You see it all the time. And I think that this situation is really just a great opportunity to really highlight not just the racial disparity in America, but the way white privilege works. If you want to know my opinion, I don't give white liberals a pass. I don't care about what these coons on MSNBC are saying and what their little white bosses have to say. I know how they operate. I don't consider them to be my friends. I don't think that they're ever going to take a real black issue like the ones that we're facing in our community every day and give it the same attention they give this immigration issue. Now, let me show you, since we're talking about children being separated from families and how horrible it is and the tragedy, let me show you guys, somebody sent me a little video. I'm gonna pop open this video right quick. So give me 1 second. Make sure hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, hit the like button, and make sure other people know about these conversations, because this ain't happening in mainstream media. That's yet another example of white supremacy. Because white folks control and own all the media, they're shaping the narrative. They're deciding that the media is going to focus on what they consider to be important. So, I'm not going to have a platform as big as a Rachel Maddow, but I believe we can have that if we share this with each other. So I'm taking it upon everybody in here who agrees with me, who here's what I'm saying. If you feel me even 1%, I hope that you'll pass this to other black people. Just pick a couple black people on your Facebook feed or put it on your page or something, because this needs to be talked about. Because I'm sorry, excuse my French, but it's bullshit. So let's look at this. Okay, so here's a little black boy who was separated from his mother or father. I'm not sure which one, because they were incarcerated. So here's the video. I want you to watch this.
Man, they coming to take my nephew, man, out of 7 years. This boy don't know these people, boy. Got my motherfucking mama crying. Hey, we gonna make something happen, nephew. We gonna make something happen, G. Hey, you gonna be up there with Uncle Cardell, though. We gonna make sure you straight, though, all right? All right?
Now, you know, this is just a video that somebody just happened to send me, and to kind of show me this, you know, and what I want you to really process it now is this, you know, what if I took that video and I put it on, you know, on television, on MSNBC or CNN, and we said, we know that the separation of families is important, is a serious problem. It needs to be fixed. You know, this is outrageous. And since we all agree that the separation of families is wrong, we've got, you know, millions, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of black children who are separated from their parents. The same way the immigrant babies are crying, they're crying too. The same way their parents are in distress, the immigrant parents are in distress, the black parents are in distress too. The only difference with the black children versus the immigrant children is that the immigrant children have been locked away for about 2 weeks maybe. And they were trying to break into the country. The black kids, their families have been split for years, not 2 weeks, but for years. The baby is 12 and has not seen her parents since she was 1, right? What if I said that? Do you think white people would care? Do you think that any of these people who are crying for these immigrant kids would say, oh my God, this is an outrage. You can't do this to another human being. We need to fix this. Well, you know the answer to that question. The answer is no. And so this is really me kind of laying that gauntlet down and kind of saying to Rachel Maddow, CNN, Don Lemon, all these people on TV that are talking about how much of an outrage this is. This is me simply calling you're racist. You are supporting white supremacy. Because when I can show you 2 case studies that are almost virtually identical, the only difference is that for black kids, it's worse. And it's of a far greater magnitude. And they're also American citizens. Let's not forget that. They're not from another country. They're from the United States. And you can ignore the heavy case on black children, but you give all your attention to the other case that involves the immigrant children. That means that you pretty much are doing exactly what we say about you. You know, you pretty much put black people last. You don't think black lives really matter. You think black children are worth less than white children. You think black children deserve what they get. You think black families deserve all the torture they've gone through. It's not a big deal to you. So again, I say this, I point out Rachel Maddow because I saw the video of her breaking down, and I'm like, you old raggedy bitch, you've never broken down, excuse my French, I'm sorry, but I have to say it. You've never broken down like this for black babies. I've never seen you go out of your way to help raise millions of dollars and to draw national media attention to something that involves black kids. I've never seen you do that, not one single time. But yet these immigrant kids you ain't never seen, kids that live in another country, kids that were fine at home until their parents chose to break into another country. You got all the tears in the world. You got all the sympathy in the world, but you never had that for no black kids. I'm not asking for Rachel Maddow to give a shit. I know she doesn't give a shit. I'm not asking for any of these white folks to care. I'm simply drawing it to your attention so that when you talk to these idiots around you who want to talk all day about what they're doing to these immigrant kids around the border, all you got to do is say, I agree with you 100%. You are 100% correct. You know, it's a tragedy to separate children from their families. Are you, since you're giving money to that cause, you know, we're raising money for Black children who've been separated from their families, because there are 2,000 immigrant children going through this, but there are 2 million Black children going through the same thing. And the immigrant children have been inconvenienced for 2 weeks. The Black children have been traumatized for 10 years, some of them. So we're going to raise money for that. So after you give money to this, can you give money over here too? And watch how quickly you lose them as your friend, because they're going to tell you they ran out of money. And that's what happens when they get around the Black folks, they run out of money. They get around the Black folks, they run out of airtime. Get around the Black folks, they run out of tears. When they get the Black folks, they like, Lisa, I'm all cried out. I ain't got no more crying left to do. I can't cry no more because I done cried for these babies from another country, but I can't cry for African American children. They run out of money. I mean, shit. Get around the Black folks, they run out of airtime. Because basically, it's like, oh, you know, we done had niggas here for hundreds of years. Who cares about the niggas? The niggas don't really matter. Let me show you another stat. I'm gonna also share my screen again right quick so you guys can see one more thing that you might want to put in your pocket. Make sure you hit the like button, share button, subscribe button, thumbs up button, hit all those buttons, hit as many buttons as you can repeatedly to let people know about this conversation, because this is a conversation we got to force into the national dialogue. I really think this is actually an opportunity for us to make a very clear point. That we're not going. It ain't that we don't care about your kids. It ain't that we don't care about those 2,000 children that are going through it because their parents chose to cross the border. It ain't that we don't care about them. Fine, I don't care. Let them all in. Bring them all together. Help them out. I'm good with that. But I would say, as Black folks, you know, you just say, look, take care of us. Take care of you. Got backlog. It's like when my mama, you know, when my mama would give me food and she'd give me my dinner and then give me dessert, and I want to eat the dessert first. She would say, no, eat your chicken first, eat your vegetables first, or clean your room first before you can go out and play basketball. Well, that's what you say to the Democrats. Clean up your mess with Black folks first before you start trying to save the world. You got limited resources. Every time we show up and say, hey, we've been through 400 years of trauma. We deserve reparations. You tell us you ain't got the money. When we say, hey, we went through 40 years of mass incarceration. You've destroyed our family, separated millions of children from their parents. You tell us you ain't got the money. When we say, hey, police are shooting our babies on the street. Little 12-year-old JoJo got shot down in the back by a white cop and he didn't even get convicted. You say, hey, we don't have time for that. We can't really discuss that. And then somehow you think that we're supposed to put you at the top of our priority list when it's time to vote. I ain't got time for you. If you ain't got time for me, I ain't got time for you. If you can't care about me, I can't care about you. If my children don't matter to you, then your children don't matter to me. And that's just fairness. That's just equity. And my God, Black people, we are the fairest people in the world. In fact, we're unfair to ourselves. White folks as a collective have not really been fair. We know that. We know the history. We are very fair. We're just saying, look, simple quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You want me to take care of the immigrant babies? We'll put that on the agenda item after we take care of the babies that have been traumatized in this country for the last hundreds of years. Like, we deal with that first, then we will get to the immigrant babies. We'll start taking care of Mexicans and Cubans and whoever else comes into the country. We down with that. But we're not going to do that before you take care of this backlog of problems that you've created in our communities, where our kids every day are being traumatized at a level that would make these little immigrant kids would melt if they had to go through 2% of what a lot of these Black kids go through. If they had to go through 2% of what our babies go through, they couldn't take it no more. Rachel Maddow's head would explode if, my God, if these kids were actually treated like African Americans. She would probably just literally have an aneurysm on TV. So anyway, let me show you this. Let me show you this stat right quick so you can kind of look at this. Now, this is an article, I guess, from a Justice Institute, and here's some data that they're showing on this page. Black children. Now, you talk about babies in cages, right? Remember, that's what they're crying about, putting children in cages. Remember that term. We're crying. We're upset because it's an outrage. It's unbelievable to put children in cages. But what does that say? What does that say? Black children 5 times more likely than white youth to be incarcerated. Black children 5 times more likely than white youth to be incarcerated. Now, is that not putting a baby in a cage? I mean, when they incarcerate them, do Do they put them in condos? Is that what they do? Do they put them, do they let them like roam around in wide open football fields, or do they put them in cages? Or do they put them in cages? And I'm gonna tell you what, you know, if you look at that picture I just showed you, that poor kid. Now he ain't no Mexican, he ain't no immigrant, so maybe his emotions don't matter, but he looks pretty devastated. He looks pretty sad. He looks like his life is coming to an end. He looks like he might kill himself. That poor kid might not even be alive right now. Look at what he's going. Look at what he's feeling. I need you to stop and meditate on the pain that this child is probably feeling right now. And the reason I need you to stop and meditate on the pain is because you have been trained, you have been brainwashed to not feel pain for Black people. And I ain't just talking about the white folks who are watching, I'm talking about the Black people too. Some of y'all are really, really crying for these immigrant children. And I'm not going, it's okay to have a heart. You can cry for them. But I can show you a Black child in the exact same situation, and you would say, oh, well, you know, that's just kind of the way it is. So why is it that when it comes to our children, this is to be expected, but when it comes to other people's children, this is intolerable? This must be immediately rectified. So I'm going to shut down, and and I'll let you guys continue the conversation. I have to go out. Today's my birthday, and I didn't want to ruin my birthday by being so angry and mean today. I'm being an angry Black man today. I'm sure that I scare these white folks on TV. That's why they don't want me on their shows, and I'm okay with that. I don't like being on their shows, actually. I like being free. But I want you to be angry with me. If you know, I'm asking. I'm not, you know, being angry is I'm not afraid to ever be angry, but it's much easier to be angry if I have other people that are angry with me. And I think that when you look at the things we deal with, that our children deal with on a daily basis, if these things do not make you angry, then you must have your pulse checked, because that probably means you're dead or you are asleep. These things should make you so angry you're ready to punch a hole in the wall. You know, I see my homegirl Michelle Culture came in here. She's a great angry Black woman. I love Michelle, and I'm gonna tell you, if you talk about families that have endured the pain of mass incarceration, you don't ever let her tell you her story, because it will bring tears to your eyes. And the thing about it is that she's not the only one. This story is repeated tens of thousands of times in Black communities all across this country. And ain't nobody sharing no tears for Michelle or her family on MSNBC. So, and that's why they are all a bunch of racists. So the people who are crying for these kids, you're nothing but bigots. You're supporting white supremacy. If you think I'm wrong, then prove me wrong. But the reason you're not going to prove me wrong is because you know that I am right, and the data supports what I'm saying. Well, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Be good. Peace.